Alrighty, Lumberjacks, welcome back to another Log and Talk episode. So today I'm changing things up a little bit. I'm not sure if this is going to be a regular occurrence or not, but I really wanted to show you guys my new control upgrade. So as you can see, even though this isn't an episode of the operator's view, I still have my joysticks here for you guys to see. So probably in some of the episodes you've seen the joysticks emerge, but I've had a lot of people asking questions about what the buttons do and how it all works. I was going to do a dedicated video, but I'm too lazy. This is my only time I got, so I got to take advantage of it. So yeah, a while back there I posted about the Dan Foss style controls by adding these little boxes to the side of my joysticks, which have buttons on the front so that I can operate my machines better. Now, I've in our series here, I've got rid of the Scorpion that we were using because it doesn't support the style of processing controls that I've been practicing on. So I've just replaced it with the 880 with the new South Star head. This guy will be coming out. I know I said in a couple videos ago that this would be coming out at the Christmas update, but unfortunately it had a few issues, so it didn't quite make the cut. This will be coming out probably sometime in January if all life is good in the world. But that's the plan. It is a beautiful head. It is super fun. I'm still working on a couple little finicky things with it, but it turned out really good. I'm really impressed with it, and it seems to cut quite well as well. So we're going to be using this in our series going forward. Oops, we're already in the machine. So I want to give you guys a quick overview of how I have the control set up now. So in Dan Foss style processors, it's a little bit different, as I described when I was actually operating the real life machine, that Cat 320 with the South Star on it. So in real life, the controls are a little different than I was expecting, because the way I have them set up in the game, it used to be on this joystick, it was to rotate the head was in the top left and bottom, while on the Dan Foss ones, it's totally different. It's on your right stick, and instead of using buttons, it's actually tilt it to the right, turns the head to the right, tilt it to the left, head turns to the left. Now I had to make some custom adjustments to my machine as well as the head. These are two versions that I haven't put out publicly, but they are just a version. But I mean, technically anybody could set the controls however they wanted. So same difference. Your main claw is on your left joystick, and it's on the top. Right closes, left opens. So I put them on the up and down, which is pretty close to the real life one. On your right stick, your rollers to bring the log towards you, and the head is the left. To bring your log away from you is the right. So I don't know if you can see that in the video. It'd probably be a little hard. So top, bottom, that's what I used for the rollers. Now this is where the fun part comes in with these new buttons that I've added. So if you wanted to raise the head up on this controller, the top button on the Dan Foss little box here, if you push the top button, it actually raises the head up. Now if you push the bottom button, it lowers it back down again. Now this is really handy to have on the fly when you're processing, because now you can literally tilt your head up as you're chucking and shoot logs back. It makes it super fast. On your right stick, the Dan Foss controls have these buttons as your rollers open and close. So bottom one opens the rollers, so this one down here. Top button closes them. So open, close, like that. So now it's really wacky to get used to these controls when you go from before, but it kind of makes sense. So I have all my controls placed in a way where these two fingers, so if you're given like the peace sign, they go on those two buttons on the right. And then on this side, use your three fingers, and you have your top one on your trigger for your cut, your secondary finger on the raise the head up, and the bottom finger on the raise the head down. Now, all the time while you're working, all these buttons are working all the time, and you're hitting all kinds of stuff, making things happen, which is an absolute blast. But for people who have never used it before, it's a wild adventure. But if you ever get into actually processing in real life, apparently the larger percentage of machines use these type of controls. At least up here in northern BC. Now, there is another type of controls, and I've never experienced them yet, which are the Sure Grip style for the processors. Now, I don't know on the Sure Grip processors if the buttons are completely different. I mean, obviously there's buttons on tops. There's no more, like on the sure grips, there aren't side buttons like for your pinky fingers, or your index and pinky fingers. But yeah, for the top part, all the buttons are on top. I just don't know if the tilt is the same on a sure grip. Like, is it your right stick that tilts it? Maybe somebody out there, I know some of you guys run this stuff in real life. If any of you run a sure grip, let me know. But it's a wild world getting used to these new style controls. And I'm still practicing. Like, I'm still absolutely feel like a child while I'm using this stuff at the moment. Let's see if I can get that on there. So let's grip up on you a little here. There we go. And then close. Now, I'm a lot slower at first, but I imagine with time you could probably get pretty wildly fast with this stuff. And I'm just going to kind of leave a trail of 6s like we've been doing here. You guys get to watch me suffer through training. I find like when I first start playing, it's a lot harder to get used to. And then as I get more into it, I find it a lot easier. So I was going to give you an example. So when I go to launch this thing, first I disable my head so that limb is freely in there. It's not held anymore. And then as you're raising the head up, you have to open your primary claw and shoot it out the back at the same time. So as you're raising it, you open and, oops, well, that one fell through, so that didn't work, but because my top's too small. But normally you can just launch it out of there. And again, there's some stuff on this head I'm still working out here, so it's possible that's part of my issue. So let's see. Let's try to grab this one here. Now, falling from the ground working, I'm a lot faster, but I'm still finding falling to be a little bit of an adventure for me. So let's cut that. And then, like I said, I just hold down that bottom button and it brings it down. And then at the same time, you can hammer on the cut while trying to control it all. It's a lot of stuff, but it's fun. Like, I find it really fun because there's just so many buttons going on. But it really makes your brain kind of go into overdrive because you're like, oh, okay, I got to press this while I'm pressing this. Now I'm going to try to chuck this head as I turn it off. So yeah, you can kind of chuck it off to the side. Now, if you're on a incline, like where you're shooting it downhill, it's even more fun because you can really see it kind of take off there. So let's kind of keep chopping away here. The other thing I was going to talk about in this episode was seasons. So recently, and well, you guys have probably started seeing, as winter has started here in the area where I live, we're starting to get snow on the ground and stuff. It's made me kind of more inspired to create more winter kind of logging scenes because we have a lot of winter logging up here, and I really do like the look of winter logging, the ground destruction, the snow everywhere. It looks pretty cool. So I have introduced seasons back into some of my maps. Now, my maps are all compatible with seasons. All you have to do is turn it on. Unfortunately, the stock version of seasons makes some of the maps quite dark. It's like that in the regular game, too. There's not really a easy way around it. You just have to wait for proper daylight or just use your lights on your machines lots. But, yeah, I found it to be really dark. So there's a few different ways you can kind of get around that. A few ways you can get around that by either turning the mod on, letting it snow, get all the snow on the ground. Now, I use Seasons and I use the Snow Geo, which are two separate mods, and it causes snow all the time, kind of, if you use the Geo, Snow Geo thing. It just basically keeps the snow happening because I like to have lots of snow. So you can make it snow on the map, and then if you're having frame rate issues, I found either disabling tire tracks. Now, this is the cool part. So if you disable tire tracks, it still works really good. But if you use the Dirty Tracks mod, it still makes tire tracks in the snow, as you'll see in some of those videos that I have, which is really, really sweet. Because I just love looking back at a trail after you do like a buncher run and mess it all up. Looks really good. So doing that's been a blast. Like I said, the other way is you can let it snow on the map after you install the mod, and then turn the mod off, and the snow actually stays on the map. It's all textured weird, but the snow's still there. That'll help with performance issues, because I know the FPS drops really bad in Seasons for a lot of people. So let's go. Oops, that's not what I want to do. I want to go like this. There we go. I'm still practicing some of these moves here. Like I said, I go from using a certain control type for like eons and eons, and then switch over to this new control type, and it's rather trippy, to say the least. I really want this tree. Gimme, gimme, gimme. There we go. So yeah, anyway, I started using seasons a lot more, and I actually find it really, really, really sweet and fun to use. Just because it's something different, you know. It gives the maps kind of a better look, a different look, which is super fun. This tree right up in our grill here. I'm just trying to get it to stay up there. Oops. It helps if you actually keep your processor head lined up. Like I said, I'm way better at processing off the ground still than I am doing it this way. Also talking at the same time, I kind of am tripping myself up here a little bit. Let's make excuses, because excuses are good for bad operating. So yeah, seasons is fun. Like I said, I just do it for the snow. I don't care about the rest of it. Like, I don't do the farming side, so I don't really like need to worry about, you know, your crops and your rain and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, I really do enjoy the snow and moving it around and having to crawl through it and dragging your piles and having to clean up your ground a little bit while you're doing stuff. That's kind of fun. I like that. But yeah, do you guys use seasons at all? I know some people love it, and like I hear such mixed opinions. Like, some people absolutely love it, mostly farmers, and then some people are just like, it doesn't look very good, or they don't like the look of it. I don't personally mind it. I think it's fun, but like I said, I only use it for winter. For summer, I just keep it the same it is as in this video right here, because I really do prefer this look. It just looks a lot cooler. So yeah, when you're using these controls, and I kind of described it in the video that I made for these new buttons, when you're using them, sorry, I'm using my hands here. Before, you used to be able to kind of grip around the whole joystick while you're working. Now with these, your thumbs are kind of out of the picture. I mean, you can put them up here, but you're gonna hit buttons up top, which is kind of a pain in the butt. So I find I explained it as karate chopping. So I'm finding if I kind of keep my hands stuck in these pivots, I do this kind of karate choppy motion where I don't really even use my fingers for grip. I just use my fists. So if you're gonna practice, you know, you can control the whole machine in and out and around without actually making a grip on the actual joystick. You can actually control your machine quite well without it, and you work a little bit of different muscle groups to try to get that dexterity for it. And then, you know, as you get more comfortable with your extra controls, if you have them, you know, I rest my thumbs here. I sometimes use them just as a little bit of support, but for the most part, I'm doing most of the grindy work with the bottom parts of my meaty side of my hand, and it actually works out quite well, surprisingly. But it was definitely weird, and it's still weird. Like, when I go from a processor and hop into like a buncher, my brain is just like, wait, what are you doing? Stop, what are you doing? It just feels wrong. But it's fun. I like doing weird stuff. I like trying to change it up. Is it the most pretty thing in the world? No, absolutely not. It can definitely be better, but for my own entertainment and experiment, it worked out quite well. I'm actually quite happy with it. And like I said, I'm hoping by doing that kind of stuff, it inspires you guys to try out of the box kind of cool stuff. That joystick kit that I bought on the internet was pretty neato. I didn't know there was anything really like that out there that was just kind of a plug and play custom thing. So I took kind of a chance on it, buying it, going like, I don't know, I guess we'll see kind of where it goes, you know, like, I don't know. But yeah, no, I was really happy with the result. And I didn't have to do anything special. You can map them in-game. Like, you don't have to have a program like Joy to Key or anything like that. I was able to just really easily map them in the game as well. So I was like, oh, this is quite nice. Made it quite peaceful for me, to say the least. How far are we going to cut on this map before we decide to change it up? I don't know what map to go to next. Working on some interesting new maps down the pipe. I'm trying to do some more detailed ones. My last ones were okay. Like, don't get me wrong. Axe Mountain was probably one of my most detailed ones I've had in a little while. Emerald Coast, I love it. Like, it is really fun to log on it, especially if you're doing anything with friends on it. It's lots of space. Everything's really spaced out nice. Detail-wise, like, the forest looks good, but there's not a lot of other factors, like for the town or any kind of infrastructure. It's very much just like a log and go kind of map, right? And it's super fun to play on, but I really want more detail. So one thing I'll tell you guys that's been kind of fun, I started playing Firewatch again, the video game Firewatch. It's a huge favorite of mine. I really love that game because it's very environmental. You're going around. The story is also very good and engaging. I really love that game, and I've been holding off on it for a while because I wanted the experience to be good and kind of like I wanted to forget it a little bit almost. Kind of like that with video games, like well, like everybody I'm sure is. But I wanted to kind of forget it a little bit so that it wasn't like I was just playing it again like it was yesterday. I wanted to kind of go into it with a fresh look. And again, I found myself inspired by it. And so I've started actually making a new map called Firewatch Valley. Obviously, a bow to the game itself by putting the name in it. But I plan to try to make it as close as I humanly can to that style. So anybody who's been a long time FDR Logging fan from FS17 has seen the map Smoky Mountain. Now, Smoky Mountain was 100% inspired by Firewatch, and I think I did a pretty good job at recreating the kind of tendencies that map had. I really, really enjoyed it. It was a good time for me putting it together. And now, like I said, I've got that kind of inspiration happening again. Now, granted, life is a wild thing, and we're, some days are good days, some days are bad days, depending on, life in general and work and all that fun stuff. But, my inspiration comes in splurts of inspiration here and there when I can. So I don't, have deadlines on when I'm going to do this stuff. I just work on it when I'm in the mood. I really want to do a good job, and I want to have fun doing it. I don't want it to be a rush project. I found Emerald Coast kind of ended up kind of in a more of a rushy project for me. It didn't feel as authentic to me. Not saying I don't like the map. I don't want to diss it because I did put a crap ton of time into making those maps. But it just feels a lot more... I mean, I have feedback already from people about it that have played it, and they say, "Oh my God, this is your best map yet." Okay, well, to me, I find I have different feelings about maps. I have different opinions about maps that I make, and some of them have a great memory because of the time they came out. The time, Grizzly Mountain was a super popular map because it was kind of the first one to really come out at the time. There wasn't really a lot of forestry maps. It was the first one we originally had it on console, which I get a question about a lot. So anybody who's still asking about why it's not on console, now's my time to answer you because you're probably watching and you're going to ask the same question. So Grizzly Mountain, along with all of my mods on console, were removed from console because if I can't have all my mods on console, I don't want any mods on console. I know that sounds like a shitty way to think, but you guys have no idea, and I always tell people this, you have no idea the amount of emails and the amount of spam and garbage I get from people calling me out for not putting stuff on console. Well, you put this, when I had Grizzly Mountain on console and Chad got all those other things on console, the other maps that we had, it was great to have that for people on console because it was a great experience to watch them. But man, the hate that I got from people saying "Oh, well, you're just too lazy to put the other mods on console. Give them to us." And I was like, well, you know what? If I can't have everything on console, I'm so sick of these comments of people being like, well, you have this, but you're too lazy to put this on. So, not to say the trolls kind of took it away, but honestly, since I finally gave up on that and put that aside so that I don't have them on console anymore, man, the spam has it's gone down so much. Because the console crowd is kind of, some of them are pretty aggressive. Not saying the PC crowd doesn't have aggressive, crappy people, but the console crowd, a lot of them, and I don't want to speak to this for everybody because I know there's a lot of great people who play console, but the majority of the console crowd, whether you guys want to believe it or not, but I've seen it and I've experienced it, so I feel I have a right to speak for the majority of the console crowd that I've experienced through modding, is a very, very, very needy and very, very, how would you say it? A hand-holdy type of group. On PC, I feel you guys are a lot smarter when it comes to customization. I feel you guys You set your own controls. Well, people who have figured it out, you set your own controls, you set your own everything, and you're a lot more educated in making your own settings and doing your own thing on console. And I will say, without fear at all of repercussion for saying this, on console, people are a lot more simplified with their control methods, with their mods. They want everything to do everything automatically and easily and go, 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 go. Well, on PC, the reason I love it and most people love it is because we have the ability to customize. Right now, look at this thing. I have all these buttons. I have all these things that I can do, and we put it all together on PC. You can't do that on console. That's why I don't like consoles, because there's that lack of customization kills me. And I mean, that's just me. I know there's lots of people who love the console side and love just having it simplistic and without effort and all that fun stuff. But that's not what I'm in this for. If I wanted to do that, I would become a gaming company, a corporation of some kind, and I would then create games only for console to make money. But that's not why I'm in this. I'm in this because I love it, and I love the customization. I love the fact that when I went to the bush in real life and I ran a machine almost identical to this, that it felt almost identical to what I'm doing right now. Minus, obviously the odd glitch here and there, but I was running trees through and having a blast, and it all corresponded almost identical to what we've created in this game. And to me, that's a big one. That's huge to me. Like, that's exciting. Like, now that I've switched over to these Dan Foss controls, going back and running that machine, I'd say 90% better than I was when I first went. Because now I know, the movements, I know the controls, I know all that stuff. And I think it would be a lot easier. But yeah, it's super, super funny that the people from the console side were so aggressive about that. And I have no regrets. Like, to this day, everybody's just like, oh, you made a big mistake by not staying on console. And I'm like, well, maybe to you, but for me, I mean, it was a great decision. I've never been happier. And I'm sorry, console players. I'm sorry. I as much as I respect every gamer ever, PC's just the better option. It really is. I know people don't want to believe that, but it is. And, I got to call myself out on a stat. So in a previous video or previous rant of mine, I was saying how companies are tailoring more towards console gaming because there's a crap ton more console players than there are PC. Well, I'm absolutely incorrect. So I had a friend say, I said that to a friend of mine. He says, absolutely not. There's way more PC players. And I'm like, no, there isn't. Look at consoles. There's so many more console players. So we did like a bunch of stats, and we went online and looked, and sure enough, he was absolutely right. I was wrong. So, like, PC players were up in the, like, multi-millions, billions of players, and the Xbox players were down in the, tens of millions in comparison. It was somewhere around there. So I quoted that entirely wrong, so I got to call myself out on that, because I said, oh yeah, well, the reason big companies are tailoring to console players is because there's so many more of them. Well, although they're adapting more players, there's actually way more PC players by a huge margin. So I got to take that stat back. I just assumed common sense wise, that's why people were supporting them more so on console. But the one stat that we did find was advertising for console was much higher than it was for PC. The advertising market in general for console, because it's a cheaper market and more appealing to more users who don't have the money to buy big PCs and do all the craziness, they were able to put more money into console advertising. Not to mention, Sony and Microsoft, being the bigger companies, would rather see probably console gamers because it's easy for them to handle that stuff. But yeah, so I don't know. I already lost the topic I was originally on because I went off about console players again. How do I keep doing this to myself? It needs to be said, though. It really does. Because I get that comment every video. I get at least 2 or 3 comments on it with people going, when's it coming to console, or why is it not on console? And it's like, well, because of that. Anyway, so I remember where we were. We were talking about my Firewatch-inspired map before I ended flying off into La La Land there. Now, our topics of the day have gone absolutely all over the board here today because we started with controls, we went on to seasons, and now we are talking about console players and a new map. So you guys just get a treat of adventure when it comes to conversations with me in a day. But yeah, anyway, so I'm going to go back to mapping because I was kind of getting on a rant there. The people who remembered Smoky Mountain, it'll be very similar to that map, this new Firewatch looking one, which I think a lot of people really enjoyed. And I do really want to, I've been playing through the game, taking pictures of Firewatch, and I really want to, if not recreate areas, make similar areas to that game, and as detailed as possible, so that's a memorable experience for people who have played Firewatch and actually really liked it. So I don't know how many of you actually played that game or like it, but it's so fun, so good. It's not like an adventure game, or not an adventure game. It's not like a first-person shooter kind of game or anything like that. It's a very storytelly, walky, mission kind of back and forth kind of game. But if you're into like adept kind of storytelling and that kind of stuff, it's probably the game for you. It's pretty fun. What was another game it reminded me of? Welcome Home, I think, was the other one. It's a story of like a girl coming home and you figure out secrets about her life and stuff. I don't want to spoil it, but and you walk through it's basically you're just the whole game you're locked in this house. And you're a girl back from, God, I can't remember now, like back from the army or something, visiting home. And you're finding notes from your childhood best friend throughout it, and it tells this long story, and it's pretty good. Like, it's a really good little story that they put together. I know I got a bunch of controversy about it, but I thought it was an amazingly told story. Like, they did a really good job. But yeah, I mean, stuff like that. Like, if you like the kind of walking, storytelling kind of games. There was another game I was trying to remember. God, what was it called? Oh, geez, I can't remember. It was like a development game or a game about a developer. And basically, it goes through, and I don't know if it's a true story or if it's a made-up story. I don't really care. It was really, really intriguing. It goes through the different layers of this, telling the story of this guy who was a developer for video games, or a modder maybe? Modder developer. And how you get to walk through the game looking at the levels he supposedly created, like his masterpieces, and they break apart the levels and stuff as you walk through it. God, it's not the Stanley Parable, but it's very similar to that, and I can't remember what it was called, but it just tells this dramatic story of how this character in it is a map creator, and you can see how his emotional reaction to his life as it's happening starts to unveil itself within the levels he's creating, within these mods, within these maps, that kind of stuff. And it is just so interesting to see it. I wish I could remember the name of it. Maybe one of you guys will know what I'm talking about, because I know lots of you guys play that kind of stuff. So, but it was really inspiring because it was just like, and like I said, I don't think it was true. I think it was a story, but I could definitely see how that could relate to real life experiences with modders, and the way that we use our emotional life moments to actually inspire ourselves into creating stuff. Because I mean, I have extreme emotional connections with some of the maps and some of the spots in maps. I'll remember like crawling through parts of certain maps, even like Axe Mountain, Grizzly Mountain, this map, anywhere. I will get these flashbacks from what was happening at the time when I was making this map and when I did certain sections, and like who I was talking to, conflicts I was having, and it all comes back full tilt to my memory of playing this, and I'm like, God, I remember that. So when I play these maps to myself, I'll hit these certain moments in these maps, and I'm just like, oh man, like I remember that, like I remember that feeling I had or that emotion I had. So when I was playing this game that I was talking about, watching this story about a map maker who, like his maps get crazier as things are bad happening in his life, or they get more beautiful as good things are happening in his life, I can totally just relate to it. Like I totally understand how that works. Like any artist, I guess, you relate your emotion to your creativity, and it's really cool. I know it gets a little philosophical and a little artistic there, but it's totally true, and I can see how people relate to it. But yeah, it looks like we've worked ourselves up to like another landing here, so that's cool, or a part of the road or something. This would be a good roadside place maybe to stack up our piles. Now we slayed quite a bit of timber. Let's go back and take a look at this actually. This thing was working actually pretty good. I'm obviously a little slower than I was with the Scorpion because I'm still learning the controls. But I think we kind of nailed through quite a bit here. It felt like a good little venture. Where did we start? We started like over right here. Right here is where we started. So yeah, we cut a nice little trail anyway. Had a good rant, had a little trail, got to talk about my controls. Now, I don't usually do this where you can see my hands and controls while I'm playing, because most of the time it doesn't really matter. I'm just talking anyway. So I probably will just turn this off back to like our regular thing. So basically I just have a setting that changes it back to this. And I think I'll just leave the controls off for these future rants, because you guys will get enough of that out of the operator's view, I think, to keep you guys entertained. But yeah, anyway, rant over. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I can't remember everything that we talked about, seasons, maps, all that kind of fun stuff. But if you guys have any questions or comments about anything I said, leave them below. I try to reply to everything unless it's something I just can't reply to or I don't have time. I sometimes miss comments because my videos are kind of always on the roll. So please don't take it personally if I don't respond or I don't give it a like or I don't see it. It happens. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we will catch you on the next one. See ya.